Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 331st film from 2021. It's the Turkish comedy drama called Stuck Apart, or Azizler. It's directed by Durul Taylan and Yagmur Taylan, and it stars Engin Gunaydin, Haluk, Bilginer, and Binnur. I'm Jesse, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today for this international film. As always, if you wanted to check this film out and you haven't seen it yet, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because we will spoil it as we go. I do apologise for my struggling to breathe at the moment, so hopefully it is you're able to listen to it, but I am struggling at the moment to breathe. Yeah, we do kick off our show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one, it's about a man who's struggling through a midlife crisis, while another one is dealing with impending death. That's probably a pretty big spoiler early on in this show, but that's pretty much the gist of this film for me. How did this end up on Netflix? With a lot of international films, we do struggle to find anything out. So for this one, it was originally scheduled to be released theatrically by Image International on the 2nd of October 2020. The theatrical release was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and then it was sold to Netflix, where it was released on the 8th of January 2021 worldwide. For those that, and I'm not holding this against you, but if you need an English dub, there is no English dub on this film, so that's okay. You can listen to it in its original language as well. This was filmed in and around Istanbul in Turkey, and it did have one nomination at the awards season that year, and that was at the Ayakil Gazette TV Star Awards for Haluk Bilginer for Best Actor in a Film. What are the translations for this one around the world? So in Turkish, the literal translation of Azizler means saints. So interesting little take there. I can sort of see why they may have changed it to various other things around the world. So if we look at in Spanish, Portuguese, Greek, and Japanese, it's called Aziz's Dilemma. That makes sense because this film is about Aziz. In German, it's called Azizler, All Together for Themselves. Interesting. And in Polish, it's called Distant Loved Ones. Not sure that one ties for the whole film, but that idea of stuck apart, I think that's very interesting too. I mean, you could almost call this film lonely if you needed to. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? There's not a lot online about this film. So on Rotten Tomatoes, there's only 2 reviews, one fresh, one rotten. So it doesn't have a consensus. The audience has it at 47%, so that's rotten, on less than 50 ratings. IMDb, it's got 11,000 ratings, sits at a 6 out of 10, so that's not too bad. Letterboxd a little bit lower, 2.7 out of 5 on 8,700 ratings, but it has been logged by 15,000 people. So what are my early thoughts on this Turkish film? I think I was interested throughout the film. I'm not sure it needed so many threads or non-linear moments, but I get what it was trying to do. So this film probably isn't going to be for everyone. There's bits and pieces that work, bits and pieces that don't. So that's where we're at for this one. The characters, the characters in this film. So we've mentioned Aziz is our main character. He's going through this midlife crisis, and he's struggling with his romantic connection, his family, his work environment. He wants to impress his younger boss, whose name is Alp. And this is in their video editing, marketing, viral media campaign business. But this guy, he seeks isolation because his girlfriend's too over the top. His sister and her husband and child are living with him and doing his head in as well. And I guess he's a bit gutless and a bit of a liar throughout this film. And he can't and won't just end it with his girlfriend. And he obviously can't stand her. So we see her repeated throughout the film. I'll probably talk about soon. But he also doesn't stand up to his sister when her son or his nephew is constantly annoying him. And the issue is that he doesn't change throughout the film. And this is, again, a big spoiler, but he's literally gifted a house and freedom from his troubles at the end of the film, and he doesn't do anything for it. So that's probably a little bit of a frustration with the film. The other character, the character who gifts this house to Aziz, is Erbil, and I guess he's probably my favourite character in the film. The second half of the film, he gets his own subtitle, and, at the start, I guess he sort of looks as being this little bit of a weird unit with some weird commentary. It slowly becomes clear that, he's not only just lonely, but he's also dying, and he's missing his dead wife, and he's also longing for company, and sees this in this co-worker, Vildan was her name. He's so desperate to move on from his deceased wife, but he's also trapped and held back through the guilt and this vision of her on the refrigerator talking to him throughout the film too. But I did like his moments in the film. His deceased wife, her name's Kamaran, and she plays this whole role through this talking photo on the fridge, which is an interesting way to do it. I thought that was quite good. Alp, I mentioned Alp before. He's Aziz's boss. He just seems desperate to impress him, and he throws parties for him, and and he pays actors and actresses to make it seem like he's popular, and offers, he's obviously got lots of money, and he offers Aziz to let him stay at his many places. So, I mean, there's that question with him, is he also just desperate for company, or the right sort of company? The other co-worker that we meet is Sevdet. He's literally on another planet to everyone else. Very random character. We'll talk a bit more about him later on. Aziz's girlfriend, Berku, she is literally one line in the film, which is constantly repeating the line of, why are you not wearing the necklace that I gave you? She's stuck on repeat throughout this film, and literally on repeat. And that's probably what it would have felt like dating Aziz, I would say. Vildan, I mentioned her before. She's another co-worker of Erbil and Aziz, and Erbil has some love interest in her, and we see her smoking a cigarette in every single scene, and to me, this is to highlight almost the power she has over him. He lusts after her, and he's dying of lung cancer and says, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. So, she's healthy and will live longer than him, and he really has no chance of being with her as well. The last person I'll talk about is Kana. That's Aziz's nephew. I mentioned him before, but he's meant to be the funny moments of the film, but I just found him super annoying. I'm not sure if it's because I have 2 young kids myself and work with kids at school every single day of the week, but I was grating my teeth any time that he was on the screen. So frustrating. The directors, the brothers, Durul and Yagmur Taylan, they've got about 20 directing credits together across film and TV. So obviously some big players in Turkey as well. Alright, some scenes. What are some scenes that I liked? There's a scene where Kana, that little nephew, this is probably the only scene I liked, where he sort of awakes as he's up in bed and he's like, get up or I'll burn your bed. That was his one funny line. There's a scene where Erbil, he sort of talks about his loneliness to Aziz, saying, he needs someone in his house, and he mentions, maybe I'll get a cat or a Ukrainian, and going on about how much they cost online. So that was funny too. Erbil has this almost soliloquy where he explains his illness, and he talks about making arrangements because he only has 6 months to live. That was heartbreaking. There's a discussion where Erbil talks to the photo of his wife on the fridge and talks about wanting to pursue Vildan, and there's this line where it's like, what does she have that I don't? And it's like, she's alive. She's just like, that was funny too. Erbil says that he needs to die so he can be with his wife, as she's up to something, and then this chandelier just falls on his head. That was funny. Erbil's wife, she asks him to kill her, and this is a flashback, and it's heartbreaking, and it's obvious, but still sad when she asks him to go leave, get the grapes, and then there's that poison on the table that was quite clear. Kana's parents, they were super annoying throughout, but there's one stage where they send him to a doctor, and then the doctor's sort of like, what he's got is severe. He's a jerk. It was quite funny. And then the parents cry and they're like, how advanced is it? And he's like, he's arrogant. Sorry. So that was quite funny. And finally, Erbil's wife sort of scares Vildan off by talking to her from the fridge in the photo. And then Erbil sort of comes back, talks to his wife's photo, and asks how can he make it up to her? And she's like, give me a sign. And then the record player plays this line about death. And then he goes to the window, and after a quick interruption from Aziz, we know that, he passes away. So that was also sad too. Things that I didn't like. I think there's a scene where Alp calls Aziz in to meet some clients who want a career for their daughter, and this daughter's just sitting there upset with the parents arguing, and it's like they want this video to appear as if Aziz had edited it. It was just weird and not needed. I don't get that scene. There's a scene around the dinner table where Kana is being so horrible to Aziz, and the parents do nothing to support Aziz, and they just support their son. That was weird. And Sevdet, this weird guy. There's a scene where he's like so hungry, he doesn't know how to cook, burns the food, struggles to order takeaway, and then Aziz is like, let's go visit Erbil because he's in hospital. And then Sevdet almost just uses this as company to get food, and then just goes back home and doesn't visit Erbil. I thought that was boring. What's it trying to say? Themes, ideas. So midlife crisis is obviously a big thing. What the questions, what does life mean? What do we leave behind when we actually go? And also too, that idea of grief and dealing with loss and illness and trying to move on, and guilt and loneliness, because obviously loneliness is hard. And that ties in with aging and mortality and identity. And when you don't feel like yourself, something doesn't feel right, how do you fix it? Because health is important, and it should come first, because life passes by so fast. I can't help but touch on that parenting idea too, like through this Kana kid, like teaching kids right from wrong, standing up to kids, not necessarily needing to always tell them what they're doing is right, and not being afraid to have that tantrum and difficult moment to teach the kid a life lesson. And there's a line about not sending this kid to school because you don't think you can. Like, they need it. They need the socialization. So that was another little thing there too. What did I take away from this film? I think, life doesn't make sense. So it's okay that some parts of this film don't make sense, because life isn't coherent, and, it doesn't add up. And I think that's the struggle Aziz and Abia face throughout this film. So maybe that's my takeaway. Some questions, some pondering, some ideas. Alp's the boss. Is he just lonely and putting on this show to say that he's popular, or is he actually sort of interested in Aziz romantically? Like, he does this surveillance on him. Why? Why does he do that in the end? I'm not sure. The other question, why did Alp upload those weird videos that he was spying of Aziz in his house in the end? Like, what are they trying to say of this newfound fame that Aziz has at the end? Because they sort of leave it on him sitting with his girlfriend in that cafe and everyone taking photos of him. I'm not sure. Let me know if you have any idea. And then as well, like, why did Herbal put that necklace in his candy jar? This is that necklace that, puts the girlfriend in repeat the whole time. And we find that Aziz gets it at the end. Was it to get Aziz to keep coming back to see him, to look for it, to counteract that loneliness that we talk about? All some interesting things. All right, I'm ready to wrap it up. We give films a rating out of 5 on this show. Like, this film, it's got some good moments. It's got some ordinary moments. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's probably worth checking out to see if it is for you. Because if, you got to think a little bit at times. And I do guess, though, if you're after a happy ending in a film, this probably isn't for you. So I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. Solid score. We're on socials. We've got Instagram. We've got Facebook. And we have X, formerly known as Twitter. The question this week is, how do you escape an endless rut? Because these characters in this film are all in this rut. I guess it's hard. It's very hard to move on when you are stuck in life and stuck in moments like that. Other than that, we're back next week with another international film from 2021. It's the Indonesian musical romantic comedy called The Heartbreak Club, or Sobat Ambyar. It's directed by Charles Ghazali and stars Bijma Mulia, Danira Wiragana, Dede Satira, and Emil Kuzmo. Cool. Indonesian film. Haven't heard of it. No idea. We'll do it next week. If you've seen it, join us. If not, I'm not sure how this one's going to go, but hopefully we've made it through this episode, and I will see you next week.